Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. My name is Dr. Mahipal Singh Rathod, and in this video I am going to discuss a very important topic that has been in news recently. The government has announced that they will open the lateral entry way for the higher positions in bureaucracy. So first of all, what is a lateral entry? A lateral entry is when you enter a room not from the front door or the straight route, but you take a side route, that is maybe a side doorway. So entering any space not from the main entrance but a side entrance or a small path, that is called a lateral entry. Now the union government has opened the highest echelons or the highest positions of bureaucracy to skilled individuals from the private sector and academia, inviting applications for 10 candidates at the level of joint secretary across various departments. Lateral entrants, as these officers will be called, into the civil service will be offered a 3-year contract which can be extended up to 5 years based on the performance. If you want to follow the updates for my videos, want to download the PDF of my lectures and follow important articles or updates regarding competitive exams, then you can like my page www.facebook.com/Mahipal Singh Rathod. So if you type this in your browser, this page will open and you can like it and follow it from this place. Also, StudyIQ has a variety of pendrive and tablet courses, especially the flagship UPSC course that is completely in English medium as well as in Hindi medium as well. So for all of you who want to prepare and moving to another city, a big city is a constraint, language is a constraint, you can get this course, study the entire syllabus in English, in the comfortable confines of your home and crack this exam. Apart from the UPSC course, there are also SSC, Bank, NABARD, RBI, professional courses, state PCS courses and defense exam courses available. To know more, visit our website studyiq.com, and if you are watching this video before 17 June, you can avail our fantastic discounts that we have on the various courses. They are up to 50% discount on the occasion of Eid. So I also wish you all Eid Mubarak, and you can avail the special offer till 17 June 2018. Now, talented and motivated Indian nationals have been called for this post. These are the exact words what I have highlighted in the advertisement. So first of all, the government wants talented people and they want motivated Indian nationals. Main thing here is this word, nationals. They have not called for only Indian citizens but for Indian nationals. It means NRIs will also be eligible to apply for these posts. And these are the posts of joint secretary across the following departments: revenue, financial services, economic affairs, agriculture, cooperation and farmers welfare, road transport and highways, shipping, environment, forest and climate change, new and renewable energy, and civil aviation and commerce. You will see that these are not home defense, all those important departments that are very intricately linked to country security and long-term policy, foreign ministry. These are all not included. So it's a first step. So they have taken up some crucial departments in which corporate or private expertise or academic expertise could be used. Then what are the qualifications or who can apply for these posts? So the eligibility criteria includes individuals working at comparable levels. It means you should not be working in a private company at a lower hierarchical position. You should be at a position that must be equivalent to somewhat joint secretary level. So you should be in charge of a few people. You must be in charge of the operations of the company. So you must be at a senior position, and they could be anything: private sector company, consultancy organizations, international or multinational organizations. Then it is not just open for private individuals or private companies. The government has also called for people from its own PSUs, public sector undertakings. So senior managers in BHEL, SAIL, ONGC, even these can apply. Autonomous bodies, then statutory organizations, research bodies. So let's say some scientists working in any particle research laboratory or the IASC of Bangalore, they can also apply for the position of joint secretary. And even professors of universities are eligible to apply. 3 general parameters have been mentioned. First, 40 years is the minimum age required. They should be a graduate at least from a recognized university or an institute, and 15 years of work experience is compulsory for those coming from academia or private sector. Salary will be approximately 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh 20,000 rupees, which is good. It is competitive salary for people coming from PSUs or academics. Maybe from the corporate sector, it is not a very lucrative salary. Many high-level positions in corporate sectors have a very high salary package. So for them, it is not a very lucrative deal, but for other people, it could be equivalent. At least they won't have any loss. If you're at a senior position in some PSU, you could be earning 2-3 lakh rupees. So if you come and work for the government, then it is not a very big loss for you. Now coming to the question, who exactly is a joint secretary and what does he do? See, this is the basic organizational structure of a department, any government department or ministry. So at the top is the cabinet minister. So he is the head of the department. He is a member of the parliament and he is the head of the executive, because we have a parliamentary system of government. We have a Westminster model of government. Then under the cabinet minister, there could be an MOS, Minister of State, and under the people who have come from the elected representatives of the public, then below them is the secretary. So secretary is the highest IAS officer. It is the highest position that you can reach as an IAS officer, secretary. Although the cabinet secretary is kind of first among the equals, but you can assume that secretary is the highest post that an IAS officer will reach. So every department, every ministry has a secretary, and there are approximately 80 secretary level jobs in Delhi right now in the union government. Under the secretary is an additional secretary. He will be the head of a wing. Then you have joint secretary who will head a complete wing. Or for example, in the Ministry of Finance, there could be two or three additional secretaries, and there could be 5 or 6 joint secretaries. So you see, they are in charge of one entire department, or they head a wing. So this is the post of a joint secretary, and usually when an IAS officer joins, he joins in the state, he will work as a collector or a DM, and if he comes to the central government, then he works as an under secretary. Then you are promoted to the post of deputy secretary or director, and then you are promoted to joint secretary. So at least 2 promotions are needed to reach the post of JS or joint secretary. So you can say that minimum 15 to 16 years it will take for any new entrant in IAS to reach this position. So this person who reaches the post of joint secretary has really good experience. He would have worked in the various districts as a collector. He would have worked somewhere in the state government. That IAS officer would have worked in the union government as an under secretary, deputy secretary, and by the time he becomes joint secretary, it sometimes takes 20 years. He has a vast experience. This entire debate of whether to bring lateral entry or to keep this lateral entry or not is actually a debate between generalist versus a specialist. So let's go into the nitty-gritty of this debate. Generalists are typically IAS officer. They are the officers recruited via UPSC. I hope many of you watching this video would be aspiring to become an IAS officer. So you give a 3-stage exam, and this exam is so hard and it is so neutral that till date in the past 70 years there have been no complaints regarding the neutrality of the exam, paper leaks, etc. So this exam does ensure merit, and UPSC makes sure that this exam stays scot-free. The best talent of the country is recruited via this examination. So these officers are coming after a rigorous training, after a rigorous recruitment process. Then they train for 2 to 3 years. 2-3 years is the training. Then they work as officers in the state governments, union government for at least 15-20 years in different departments. They have worked at grassroots, plus they have worked in multiple departments of the state and the center. A typical IAS officer, once he starts, he trains for 2 to 3 years. Then he will go and work as a collector for, let's say, 4 or 5 years. Then he works for the let's say he's made an undersecretary in the education department, or he works for the state government in the education department. Then he could go to health. Then he could also work for the water treatment plants, or he could work for the sanitation projects. So he could have a vast experience, and by the time he reaches the policy framing position, which is the policy framing position, it is the joint secretary level. Over there they frame the policies. At the lower levels, what they do is actually only implement the policies. So the plans like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or the Startup India, these are all framed by the JS level IAS officers or even more senior officers, and the lower level of bureaucracy only implements it. But by the time you are at a level where you can frame policy, you should have experience, and the experience of an Indian administrative officer is unmatched in the world. Without a doubt, no other administrative position in the entire world gives you such a vast experience, where you have experience in tackling floods while you were a district collector. You have experience tackling low rates of literacy, bringing more schools, health issues, then revenue problems. There are a lot of revenue problems in the country. So all these issues, you know how to tackle them. But the problem is, because these IAS officers are working in one position for hardly 1 or 2 years, they lack domain specialization. Now you could have worked in your district to control floods, so you know few things about disaster management. You know basic things about disaster management and how to tackle it, how to tackle a disaster, let's say flood. But you are not a specialist as someone who would have worked in the field for 20 or 25 years. They would have exclusively worked in the domain of disaster management. So the expertise level of a collector or an IAS officer cannot be compared to someone who has worked in disaster management field for 20-25 years. The entire crux is this. So whether to whether we feel that this person is more experienced or qualified, or this person is more experienced or qualified. Personally, I think both of them are required to make India better, to make India more efficient. Now we come to the specialist. Specialist are domain specialists. They have acquired their specializations. They have worked in their field for 20, 15, 25 years. And as I gave you the example of disaster management, so that domain specialist would know how to tackle floods, how to tackle earthquakes, how to tackle any other natural disaster, be it a biohazard, a nuclear leak, anything. Then if someone is coming from a corporate sector, some specialist of, let's say, transport policy, or let's say someone has experience of working in a transport company for 25 years, heading a company of a large scale company, let's say DHL or all these fast courier companies. So they know a thing about or two about transportations and logistics. So they could be of help in the road transport ministry, because in corporate sector these qualities are appreciated. Efficiency, you need to be very efficient with your work. Then best practices are used to get the maximum efficiency from all the workers. The work in corporate sector is always target oriented. The DHL owner or the DHL senior level manager would have his targets fixed by the company, that you have to ensure business grows at 20%, and if you don't get that result, you are not rewarded. You don't go higher up in the offices. So efficiency is always rewarded over experience. Someone might have 25 years of experience in DHL, but if someone who has worked for 15 years and is giving more results, so he will be promoted faster. So you see, whoever is at the top ladder of the corporate, more often than not, he or she is more efficient, has better target oriented work and results, and has led projects which have been successful or have seen results. So they would have a better success rate and they would be more efficient. So these people bring a fresh approach, they bring new strategies, and sometimes an out of the box approach. Please Google this person I am telling you, Sonam Wangchuk. If you would have seen the movie called 3 Idiots, the Amir Khan's character was inspired by this person's life, Sonam Wangchuk. He's a brilliant engineer who is working in Ladakh region for many years. He has worked in education field, then he has worked in for the water problem. Leh Ladakh is a dry desert, so people face problem of drinking water. So he has made some ice pyramids over there. Just Google him, you will find out a lot of stuff about him. Sonam Wangchuk is his name. So this person has brought an out of the box approach, making snow pyramids, so that in summer months you don't have problem of water. So such kind of new fresh thinking is needed. No government officer could think of that in Ladakh in 70 years, but Mr. Sonam Wangchuk could do that. Then finally, the second ARC, Administrative Reforms Commission, that ARC report has also recommended lateral entry into the bureaucracy. So why is the need for lateral entry? First, there is a huge shortage of IAS officers. Yes, you heard me right. Almost 1500 positions out of 6400 sanctioned IAS posts in this country are vacant as of today. States like Bihar, Rajasthan, MP, they have a vacancy of around 20 to 30% post. So you can imagine where 100 officers are required, the state is doing only with 70 or 80 officers. So you can understand the work will suffer. Where you need 100 people, you are working with 70, the work must suffer in some way or the other. So there is a need to recruit more people into IAS. But the problem is, every year only 180 IAS officers can be recruited because the training facilities are limited. Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy can have only 180 officers who can be trained over there. So the need to recruit fresh officers and then train them for 2 to 3 years. Approximately an IAS officer is in training for more than 2 years. So it takes at least 2 to 3 years for them to be posted in the fields. Then, after all the training, the field training, everything is over, it is almost 2 years. So you see, it takes 2 to 3 years just to train an officer. Before that, 1 year UPSC exam is there. So for a person, from the day he thinks that he wants to join the IAS until the day he's working in the government, actually working, probation, everything is over, it can be 3 to 4 years journey. So it's a long time. Then he will get some expertise. It will take 10-15 years for him to become some sort of an expert in multiple fields. So this is a long process. Now, if you want to cover this vacancy quickly, the only option is lateral entry, according to government, that you bring people who already have 20, 25 years, 15 years of experience in the corporate sector or other fields. Directly you bring them 500 people for 2-3 years and you can easily cover up this vacancy. Then another thing is, what could be the positive benefit is that because of these lateral entrants, the career bureaucrats could have a competition among them, a healthy competition. Because see what happens, mostly IAS officers, once they get into the service, they don't get more degrees, or they don't want to aspire to get domain specialization. The work schedule itself is punishing. There's so much work, you don't get time. But some of them do get higher degrees, they take specialization, they go for PhDs in, let's say, sanitation, or PhD in water resources, PhD in disaster management. Yes, many officers are doing that. It's a good initiative, but everyone cannot do it. Not everyone's work schedule permits to do that. So this lateral entry scheme could spur the career bureaucrats to get specialization themselves, so they could work more efficiently, and there could be a healthy competition between them, the lateral entrants and the career bureaucrats, and it could spur positive results. So now there could be negative also. There could be turf wars. They could be protecting their, IAS is a very hallowed territory, and the IAS Officers Association would not want the lateral entrants coming in very easily. So this IAS lobby has pushed back for the lateral entry before also. Then, to break the stranglehold of politicians on bureaucracy. As of now, the system is such that the politicians do control the transfers, etc. of the bureaucrats, and they need to have a good relationship with the politicians. Some of them do it deliberately, and they become favorites of one party or the other. So this stranglehold of politicians on the IAS officers has to be broken, and it can be broken by lateral entrants, because they don't have anything to do with politics. They are coming for 3 years, and after that they will go back. So it does not matter to them whether BJP is in power or Congress or any other state regional party. So they will work without politicians' interference. End to red tapeism. India's bureaucracy is famous for red tapeism, keeping the files on the table for months and months at end, not passing projects, etc. And I'm not saying everyone does that, but yes, it has been quite a feature of the bureaucracy. So to end this red tapeism with the efficiency, the speed of the corporate sector, lateral entrants could be a positive initiative. The IAS as a service was designed for a time when the state was all powerful. During the British time period, they needed to control the people. So it is not a service oriented, it was not considered as a service oriented service. It was the main feature was to keep a control on the people, to govern, to rule. But liberalization in 1991 has changed everything. State was all powerful. Now it has ceded its space to markets. The market forces are more powerful. Therefore, it becomes critical for the government to ascertain the impact its policy decisions have on various stakeholders, such as the private sector, non-profits, general public, those who have experienced government from the outside. So you need to take in their point of view. You need to bring them in the policy framing decisions. Only then the country can prosper better or faster. So we have seen the benefits. Now I want to discuss with you what could go wrong. What all could be wrong with this scheme. The first thing that could happen is turf wars between IAS and lateral entrants. Do you remember that movie Chak De India, in which Shah Rukh Khan played the coach? So he comes as an outsider to coach the Indian hockey team of the women's hockey team. So you see how much hostility he faces from the team initially. So that could happen in the IAS and lateral entrants as well. The career bureaucrats will not welcome the lateral entrants. It's a big problem, because see, these people are eating up the higher bureaucracy job. They could be stopping the promotions. They could be endangering the promotions of the career bureaucrats. Then second thing, selection process could be manipulated due to corruption and cronyism. Who is to guarantee the neutrality of these people coming in and joining the higher bureaucracy? These people who will come and join, they could be favoring the ruling party. So anyone who is on good terms with the ruling party, they can be assured that we will go and for 5 years will work for the government. So pro-established candidates will come in the service, and this is against the neutral principles of the Indian bureaucracy, the steel frame of India. It is supposed to be completely neutral and not favor any political party. Then third is the feeling of service to people. See, bureaucrats from day one, the IAS officers, they are trained to serve the people. Their entire training, their entire work schedule is to give maximum service to the people. But in corporate, the culture is different. Corporate is maximum profit, not service. They are there to get maximum profits out of the service they provide. So the feeling of service is different. And maybe the corporate people won't have that feeling inside them. They could be working to ensure benefits for the government, but maybe not for the people. Their mindset, their thinking could be different from the IAS officers. They can try to help their company or sector. So let's say a petrochemical engineer or a senior manager in a petrochemical company comes and works for the mining or minerals department. So he or she could help the petrochemical company that he has come from, or even the entire sector. He could frame a policy that will help the petrochemical sector earn more profits. So that could be done. So it's a big conflict of interest if this happens. So who is to ensure, what can we do to ensure that this does not happen? There is no policy to keep that in check. Then loss of trust in own officers by government, and more importantly by the public. What do you think the people will say when the government does not trust its own officers who have been working in the government for 20 years and they are bringing someone from the outside? So it's a perception battle. People will think that the government officers who have been ruling us for past 15-20 years, they were not efficient, they were not good. So now government is bringing outside help. So this will bring down the morale of the IAS officers as well as the people also, both of them. Then how can you assess the performance of these lateral entrants in 1 or 2 years? They will go after 3 years, but sometimes policies take 10-20 years to implement. You see the Manrega. Let's take the example of Manrega. That policy took many years to form. Then the legislation was passed, then it was implemented. Then after 5-6 years we came to know what are the problems, what are the good things about Manrega. Then it was fine-tuned. So it takes at least 7 to 8 years for a policy to be framed, to be implemented, and the results to show. So in 1 or 2 years you cannot judge the performance of these lateral entrants. What can you do if they come and just sit in their offices, they do nothing in spite of their famous reputation? What if they do nothing and they just sit and take the salary, and after 3 years they go back to their corporate jobs? It could be a vacation for them. So what is to stop that from happening? And finally, the career progression of IAS officers will be threatened. Anyways, there are very few joint secretary level positions. Approximately 300 officers, IAS officers, reach joint secretary or above. So as of today, there are around 300 IAS officers who are at the post of joint secretary and above, additional secretary plus secretary. Okay. So the competition is intense. There are more than 3,500 IAS officers and 300 posts. So it is a pyramidal structure. Any hierarchy has a pyramidal structure. So the positions at the top are very few and at the bottom they are high. So if you bring someone from lateral entry directly at the top level, so it becomes difficult for people here at the base to go up. Alright. So it is very difficult to get promotions once this lateral entry option starts. But then again, we have seen many successful examples of lateral entrants working perfectly in the government system. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, he was brought in as an advisor, then later on he was even in the planning commission. So he's a good example of bringing lateral entry. Manmohan Singh, he was not even in the government, he had not fought an election in his entire life, and he was directly brought as a finance minister in 1991 by PV Narasimha Rao. Although Manmohan Singh had worked as an RBI governor, so he had experience in the economy field. But he was never in politics. He was directly brought, and see how successful he was. He brought the 91 liberalization LPG reforms. Then Nandan Nilekani, he was in Infosys. He's one of the founders of Infosys. He was brought for the UIDAI project, the Aadhaar project, and the Aadhaar project has taken off. It is successful today. Aadhaar is considered a success. Leave aside the questions of security and all that. But if you consider the project, was it successful? Yes, it is successful. It is helping the PDS systems. It is helping in direct benefit of transfers. It has stopped so much pilfering of money from the government because of the direct benefit of transfers. Then Raghuram Rajan, he was also brought as an RBI governor directly. He was working as a professor in some US university. Even today, he has gone back to his earlier job. So these are all people who have been successful as lateral entrants. And the thing about money or not doing anything, see, these people have a reputation. If you bring Raghuram Rajan and he does not do anything in RBI, that is not possible. He has to keep up with his own reputation also. And they will not stay for long because, see, the compensation is modest. For someone like Raghuram Rajan, earning 3 lakh rupees or 4 lakh rupees as an RBI governor is nothing. He would be earning at least 3 to 4 times higher with his position in US. So this modest compensation ensures that no one comes here with long-term plans. Okay, so they can't make a career out of it. No one can think that, okay, I am 45, I'll go and work for 3 years, then later I will keep extending until 60 I retire, I'll be an IAS officer, like as good as an IAS officer, a career bureaucrat. No, that will not happen, and it has not happened till date. So if certain criteria are taken care of, this scheme could work, but the pitfalls are huge. If the system is played, especially the pro-establishment candidates, or how to check whether they are efficient, whether they are making any difference or not, these things have to be taken care of. But personally, if you ask for my opinion, I think it's best to try and see. I think it should be tried at least once, and then we should see the results, what happens. Okay. And another idea that personally I like very much is the lateral exit system. This could be a way forward. So along with lateral entry, have a lateral exit. What is this lateral exit? See, those IAS officers who have worked with the government for 15-20 years, give them an option that they can leave the service for 4-5 years and go and work in their specific fields. So let's say someone interested in finance can go and get a PhD, also work for some finance related think tank or any financial organization, or at maybe some large scale bank. They could work with the World Bank for 4-5 years, then come back, join their own government, join the IAS, and then they could act as domain specialist. or you can even select the IAS officers along with their, see their backgrounds and give them further training. So the government can give them option. Again, if someone wants to go and specialize in disaster management, let them go and research, study, do a PhD on disaster management, work with some NGO who is working in disaster management field, and get that specialization in 4-5 years, come back and work as the specialist on behalf of the government. So this lateral exit system could also be implemented in the future. So IAS officers get domain expertise by leaving service for a few years and working in other organizations. When they rejoin, they bring back that same expertise with them. So this could be a way forward, and it's a very good idea. Tell me in the comment section, what do you think about this lateral entry scheme? Okay, but please be civil and don't blame any political party or don't blame any politicians. This is not the way. If you are wanting to write competitive exams, your answer should be balanced and give proper reasons behind your statements. All right. I wish to read your comments. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.